to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back once again. It is actually Sunday morning. It is the morning of Father's Day, and I am here tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And it's just me today. I'm not sure, doing a podcast by yourself is kind of hard. It's nice to have a sidekick, a co-host, someone to, bounce ideas off of and, just kind of give you a break from talking a little bit. But the stars wouldn't align. People had work to do, commitments, and today's Father's Day, so it's hard to get people together. So, we didn't leave you guys with a podcast last weekend, so I thought I'd kind of jump on it this weekend and kind of see how long I get to talk before I run out of stuff to talk about, or see how long it takes for you guys to shut the podcast off because you're tired of listening to me rant. I know I don't have a really awesome accent like Mr. Tarver, the Cajun cowboy, but I'm going to give it a go, and we're going to see what happens here. How have you guys all been? We've had all this super kind of crazy start to summer. Yesterday was the first day of summer, and it's just been kind of nuts. It's been pretty busy over here at my house. I spent 4 days in Boulder, Colorado, the Boulder, Colorado area with my lovely wife, and it was kind of, we have an anniversary coming up on July 1st for 25 years, and we had some trips to Hawaii, a trip to Hawaii planned that we had to recancel and reschedule numerous times due to the stupid COVID-19 pandemic bull crap, and ends up that we just weren't going to go. I mean, we could get a flight down there, but we had no place to stay. They weren't renting out rooms to anyone, and people were getting arrested on the beach, and so we scrapped that idea, and we're going to take sorry about that. We're going to take 2 or 3 mini vacations this summer. So our first one was to Boulder, and of course, besides guns, one of my other passions is running. I like to run. I like to trail run. And so we got a little Airbnb up there, and we spent 2 or 3 days up there running trails in the Rocky Mountains, which was kind of fun. A lot more people than I'm used to on a mountain trail. There's a lot more people that live down there, and it was pretty interesting. I won't say it was a culture shock necessarily, because I'm pretty well traveled. I get out. I'm not naive or ignorant about things in the world, but I like Boulder, Colorado. I like where it is. But I tell you what, there's a lot of liberal thinking down there. A lot of liberal thinking. A lot of stuff that I don't necessarily find here in little small town Idaho. I won't say it was an eye opener by any means, but it was just a different bit of culture that I don't spend a lot of time in. But like I say, to each his own. Do what you want to do, and I do think that I may have. I got some. Well, I was doing okay. So I'll explain this. When you run, you got to wear certain running gear and stuff like that. It's just what you do. So a lot of that gear is kind of brighter colors, and that's not normally stuff I'd usually wear or even identify with necessarily. But I got done with a run, and you go get a smoothie or you go get lunch or whatever, and I was walking around in my running gear. I was pretty normal. I fit in. I had the bright colors on. I was pretty normal. I fit in. So afterwards we'd go back, we'd shower up, then we go, we drive around, take a look at things, go to the stores, whatever at that point. And I would go back and I'd change, and I put on my one of the shirts I had. Well, all the shirts I had something to do with firearms on them. The one I wore had a big old black AR-15 on the front, and it said, "This is a tool," and on the back it said, "I am the weapon." And I wore that around. I got a lot of different looks when I put that on. I wore that around town than when I was wearing my running gear. I just don't think I blended in quite as well. I really don't think I blended in quite as well. My wife's like, "Are you sure you want to wear that here? You're liable to get in a fight. I mean, have you seen the news? Have you seen?" I said, "Oh, I'll just wear it." But everyone was real cool. But anyhow, it was interesting because, you know, I eat a little differently now, and I'm wearing that shirt. This is a tool. I am the weapon AR-15 shirt, and I'm going out to eat at like vegan restaurants. So anyhow, it's kind of like I got my wires crossed a little bit. I'm eating at vegan restaurants, but I support firearms. I like to shoot. I do like to run. I don't know. It was a real weird, different place to be. I really liked it, though. I mean, I'd go back and visit again, but just a real. I didn't fit in, but I fit in. If I guess if that's how you want to put it. Pretty interesting. We got another trip coming up here toward the end of July, and we're actually going to North Carolina to do some more running up there and stay up there for a week. I think about a week, and it's pretty. We're gonna stay in a little place called where is it? It's called I think it's called Almond, North Carolina, some little tiny town in the woods, and we got a nice Airbnb up there, and it's pretty close to some trails that I'm going to run around and stuff. But I'm looking forward to that. But you know, we fly into Atlanta, and we got all this stuff going on up in Georgia and Riot, and I'm like, man, I've never been one to like to travel very much. I don't have a problem with airplanes. I don't have a problem with any of that stuff. Just traveling is a bit of a hassle. So I'm kind of a homebody. I just like to stick around home. Choosing this summer to be the summer that I decide to travel around and go visit all these places may not have been the best choice. Probably one of the worst summers I could have chose to do this, to travel. So I don't know. We'll see how it works. I could say I'm not going to travel, but I lose a ton of money on airline credits, and honestly, I don't really want to lose a bunch of money. It's money that I'd saved up, to go on these trips, but I can't stand just to piss it away. So I've got to kind of use it, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. I was kind of debating about what I should talk to you guys about. Talk about on today's podcast. The subject, the topics, whatever. Of course, it's going to deal with firearms and whatnot, and this podcast might get pretty good. I usually got, like I said, co-hosts here to kind of ground me and look at me, because I tend sometimes to say stuff that I shouldn't, as far as I say it without thinking about it. Now I don't have the Cajun Cowboy in here today to look at me going, are you sure you want to go that route? I like to talk. I like to tell you how I feel, and sometimes it doesn't always bode well for business. I do have to remember that I do have a business that I would like to succeed. And sometimes things that you say or things that a person say can harm that business. And I'm finding that is a hard one for me to comprehend, or to come to. I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for, to come to terms with. I spent a good portion of my life not really having an opinion, or if I did, I just kept it to myself, and I would do things based on other people's opinions, and I didn't really have any of my own original thoughts. Well, that has since changed, and now I want to tell people what I think and what I believe and what my thoughts are, and it's hard to do that now when I have a business, because my thoughts aren't the same as your thoughts, and people will judge you and can really just kind of destroy your business if you're not careful. But I've been, I got back and I took a lot of phone calls while I was out of town for different private classes. And I also had, right before I left, I had a really good, and I'm bouncing all over the place here. I didn't take any notes or anything, so you guys have to bear with me. But I had a really big Idaho concealed carry permit class. It had I think I had 32 people in it. It's a nice class. I had to bring in some extra guys to help me out on the range, which, my buddy Henry and my buddy James, they showed up to help me out on the class, and I really like it when I can bring in extra help, because that means it's a big class. And it was a fun class. Everything went smoothly, or mostly smoothly. No major problems. We got anything that happened, we got ironed out real well. But great students, great shots, some new shooters in the class. Very, very enjoyable. One thing that I've decided to do for those that take and this isn't going to necessarily affect listeners that are listening to me from back east, but I'll tell you guys anyway. people that take the Idaho Enhanced Concealed Carry Permit class from me, what I'm going to do is I give them 2 pieces of paper. One is a paper that I sign, a law enforcement officer signs, that they can take, and they can then use that to help add to the application and help certify them to apply for their concealed carry permit class. The other one is just a fancy little certificate of completion, a Patriot Defense that I came up with, me and my wife, and, just kind of to prove that you've taken this class. So they've got this piece of paper. So I have decided to actually make that a little more functional, a little more of a functional item. I always push and I always preach, go out and shoot every month, 50 rounds, 20 rounds, 10 rounds, whatever it is. Go out and practice shooting. It's all about muscle memory. And I'm passionate about that because I think a lot of people, they take their permit class and then they don't pick up their firearm and they don't shoot their firearm again for, I don't know, for months or maybe years even, right? I mean, because I've had people come to the permit classes and they say, well, I've had this gun for years. I haven't shot it in years. I haven't shot a gun in years. So, I mean, I know that it happens. Well, I want to encourage people. To go out and continue shooting and hone their skills and develop that muscle memory. I mean, it's so important. And so what I'm doing is if they take their concealed carry permit class from me and they present me with that certificate of completion, they can have one free hour of, range time on my range. They can come and they can shoot their own targets. They can shoot their paper plates. I've got some steel that they can shoot, and I'll be there. I have to be there for the safety reasons. And I will be there to help them if they need some help working on, like stance or trigger press or fine tuning the basic fundamentals or whatever. I will be there, but they have to call, they have to schedule with me, and we can make it happen. And it's been a week, and I announced that I've announced it on the radio show numerous times. I've announced it in my class, I think about 3 times. And so I am waiting to see if anyone will take me up on that offer. I've just, it's out there. I will honor it, and it's something I want to do all summer. Maybe set me apart a little bit, maybe from other instructors. I mean, show that I care. I'm not necessarily just in this for the almighty dollar. I mean, the almighty dollar helps, trust me. But I'm not in it for that necessarily. And so far, no one has taken me up on it. We'll see. We'll give it some time. I know it is summertime. People are camping and stuff. So I'll see what happens, and I will report back to you to see if anyone actually takes me up on my offer, sees that I'm serious about this, and we shall move forward. But I'll keep you guys in the loop on what I find out and what happens with that. So I've got a lot of people signed up for different upcoming private classes, and I've had people show up with their buddies before and take a private class, or their husband or their wife and take a private class, and that's fun. That's always fun. But I tell you what, I had a couple of the most fun classes I've had the last couple of days. I've had the first class I did when I got back into town was a daddy-daughter class. This guy showed up, brought his 14-year-old daughter. He had taught her safety and stuff, but thought maybe she needed to get a little more safety from like a professional standpoint. And so it brought her along. We talked about safety. We talked about shooting fundamentals. We had a great time. We laughed. They were both having a great time. And then we went out on the range and we shot. She shot some different handguns. They brought some rifles, like some 22 rifles. She shot some 22 rifles. I talked to her about the safety on that, how to make those function and work properly, and the proper stance for shooting one of those. And then they had also brought an AR-15, and we brought the AR-15 out, and we shot that a little bit. I tell you what, those two, they had so much fun, and I enjoyed it too. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I can imagine, they had that wonderful bonding experience over that, and it was just a great day. Everyone had a great day. I really, really enjoy it, and that's why I got into this, is to help empower people, show people that they can do this, and to teach them how to do it correctly and teach them how to do it safely. And so we came out of that, and that was a great day. The next day, I had a class that I had kind of put up on on Facebook as like an event, which I may or may not do this again, but it was a draw and shoot class, and I'm still going to do draw and shoot type classes, but I don't know that I'm going to post them up on Facebook as a Facebook event because it's really hard for me to keep track of who signs up and who's going to show up. But anyhow, this dad and his, I think it was about maybe 15-year-old son, 14, I don't know. No, he was driving, so I think it was about 15, maybe. They showed up for this class, and they'd shot a little bit before, but not a lot. And they showed up, and it was a draw and shoot class, but they're the only ones that showed up. And so they got lucky, and I said, hey, look, we can do the draw and shoot class, or I can just kind of do a fully customizable class just for you and your son. We can go over the basics and the fundamentals again, and then we can get through that stuff and the safety, and we can head out, and we can do some shooting. You can shoot some steel, and I can show you, they brought some holsters and stuff, and I can show you how to, the proper draw stroke. We won't get too crazy into that, but I can show you the draw stroke. So show you some other fun drills, and we did that, and I had a blast. I'm not even shooting, I'm teaching it, and I had a blast. But they had a blast, and they were, laughing and joking and learning stuff, and we shot the steel, and we had a little bit of a competition on the dueling tree. They taught them how to draw and shoot, and it was just a great morning. I spent about 3 hours out there, and it was a great way to spend a Saturday morning. And I just enjoyed it immensely. I really enjoy teaching people and seeing people have fun and enjoy, people enjoy shooting. Like I said, it was just a great morning. So, overall, people, this might be the most boring podcast you guys have ever listened. I don't know. You listen to some of my other ones, so it may not be the most boring, right? I mean, but, I will throw this out there. There are a lot of people that have been getting a hold of me lately, so they just found the podcast, and they're started over from day one. And I don't even know how many podcasts we have done. I could look it up. I don't really know because I don't say good morning episode whatever. I don't do that because I'll forget. I got too much other crap to remember. But there's a lot of people that say that they've started the podcast from the very beginning, and I have to say right now, I thank you very much for listening from the beginning. And thank you very much if you have listened from the beginning and you are still listening right now. Because I know some of those beginning episodes were really, really rough. Really rough. In fact, today's episode might be one of the rough ones. Right in the middle right in the middle of having done this for a few years now. It might be a step backwards, but thank you for listening to the beginning ones and still listening today. I know that they were real rough to get through. A lot of me yelling into the microphone. I didn't have the greatest equipment, and I really appreciate the downloads. I appreciate people subscribing to the podcast. Thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully it'll just kind of keep getting better. I don't know. The world's in a mess right now, and there's not a whole lot of gun news, so it might be kind of boring to you. And we tried to supplement that with this other podcast. But getting back to what I wanted to talk about, though, we, people ask me. Everyone knows that as of, I don't know, I won't say the beginning of the year, but a few months back, I decided to make this right before the COVID-19 thing hit. I decided to go ahead and try to do Patriot Defense, my handgun instruction business, try to do it full time. I had gotten a little tiff with my employer, and I told him that he could go pound sand, and he did, and I left. I've got a really supportive wife, and we talked about it and decided, I already had this rolling on the side. Let's see what can happen. And so as I moved forward with it, the pandemic set in. It just started to pick up steam, and then the pandemic set in. So that didn't help things. It got real slow. We're starting to pick up speed, starting to pick up steam a little bit again, and we're kind of moving forward. I'll tell you what, it's enjoyable. I really enjoy it. It's been a tough few months. Okay, it's not as busy maybe as I would like it to be, and I've had a couple moments where I've said, you know what, I'm done. I'll just push this back to the weekends. I just need to go get a real job somewhere And, I sat down and told my wife that. She's like, no. She's got a good job and she works hard as well. And she's like, you know what? You just keep doing this. You spent many years, working your tail off, working my butt off. She's like, you want to try this? You do it. You need to put an honest effort into it, and let's move forward and let's see what happens. And so that's what I'm doing. And she's very supportive. And she's probably one of the biggest reason why I'm still doing this. Because, it's tough. I'll go a week where I don't get any phone calls. I have no classes whatsoever. And then I'll go 2 or 3 days where I get dozens upon dozens of phone calls every day. And I think that's just the way this business is going to work as well. When bad things happen in the world, in the country, then I get more phone calls. Unfortunately, my business grows due to bad news. But it is what it is. But there are days that I feel guilty because I'm not doing anything. And I try to convince myself that mowing the lawn and spraying the weeds out here around the range and planting a couple trees and trying to make everything look inviting and pretty for when I do have students that show up, I convince myself that is part of my job. Right? That's part of my job description. I don't have people hired to do that. That is me. That's range maintenance. That's range upkeep. But it's difficult. I'm used to going to work, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And so me not having necessarily a lot to do sometimes is kind of rough. But, I found that I could be on vacation up in Boulder and I can still take phone calls and answer questions and sign people up for classes. And essentially I'm still working. I just don't get paid like everyone else does. I get paid when I have a class, or I get paid when I have that big class once or twice a month. So I don't know. I'm trying to get used to it. Those of you, if anyone out there owns a business, owns their own small business, I'm sure they can understand what I'm saying. So it's a little different, but I will say this though. I have been able to spend more time with my boys. I've got two sons. I got a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old, and even the rest of my family and my wife. We've been able to spend so much more time together because I'm not worried about trying to get vacation time from here, trying to get vacation time from this person, or waiting for approval over here and approval for this. If I wake up in the morning and I want to go for a run, or I want to go take my boys and go fishing, that's what I do. If I've got time to do it, that's what I do. And so it's been really nice. But, more students, more classes is always a good thing as well. So I was having a conversation last night on the text message conversation with one of my daughters. She's out of town. And she noticed that one of her softball coaches was had taken a class for me. And she goes, oh, I saw so-and-so took a class from you. And I said, she goes, I didn't know he was a gun guy. And I said, well, I don't know that he was a gun guy, but he was spending time with his son, and they know a little more about it now, and they're maybe a little bit safer about it, and they got more knowledge. And she goes, well, look at that. That's a great thing, Dad, that you were able to teach. You're able to teach someone and give them knowledge and teach them about firearms. So maybe that they have a skill now that could save their lives, or a skill that they can enjoy, something they can do with their family and friends and whatnot. I said, yeah. I said, that's awesome. And I said, I really enjoy doing that. And she goes, look at you, Patriot Defense. When I started 7 years ago, it was very, very small, obviously. We were doing it in the middle of winter inside an indoor range that had no heat, and we were there for 8 hours. And it came from a really rough place, and it's growing. Obviously, it's growing quite a bit from where it started. And she goes, that's cool. One of these days you can, she's thinking big picture, right? One of these days you might be some big corporation. I don't know about that. It'd be nice if it got a little bit busier, but I don't know about a big corporation. And I said, well, my goal, I said it'd be nice to have it big enough so when I pass on, I have something to hand to you kids. Maybe you guys can do it, right? That's the ultimate dream. I can maybe have my son working with me. I can hand it off, and they can take it over. So anyhow, my daughter has faith in me. And we'll see what happens and kind of see where that goes. I kind of lost. There was a point I was trying to make, and to be honest with you, I don't remember what that point was. Just kind of talking about a conversation me and my daughter had about Patriot Defense. But I do enjoy it, and we'll keep moving forward as long as I get support from my wife, which she's pretty good at giving, so I don't think that'll be a problem, and I'm hoping that I can justify doing it as I'll never get rid of Patriot Defense. I mean, something big will have to happen. It'll always be on the side, but I want to, hopefully I can keep it as my main job, my main focus for a while. Hopefully it continues to be successful, and I can move forward. I can move forward with it. But tell you what, I got some other stuff we're going to talk about later on in the podcast about, it's going to sound like I'm whining and complaining a little bit, but it's kind of what's been on my mind. And then I got some questions for you, the listeners, but we will I tell you what, this is first for Patriot Defense. We are going to take a commercial break.
Come get the best firearm training available without the ego at Patriot Defense. You need a teacher, not a drill instructor. Come see why Todd Eccles with Patriot Defense has the longest running firearms instruction business in the Valley. Patriot Defense offers Idaho enhanced firearm permit classes. Contact them today to set up a private or group class at patriotdefense13.com. You can also call or text with any questions or to register at 620-794-6223. That's 794-6223.
And there we go. That was my first, I won't say it was a paid ad. Well, it was a paid ad. I paid to have that produced and put on the radio show that I do every Friday. So I thought I would, it's my ad. I paid for it, so I think I'm okay. But I was sent an email so I could proof it, listen to it, and give it the thumbs up. And so went ahead and grabbed it. I sucked it over to the board here. I thought I'd use it on the podcast. I kind of like hearing commercials about my business every now and then. It kind of makes me feel like I've made it, if that makes any sense. So like I said, that won't mean anything to anyone that's back east or to anyone that's not local here, but there you go. That's my paid commercial. I've made it. I've come so far in this industry. I've got a paid commercial. I got limousines. Actually, I don't have anything. I've got a broken down truck, and my wife's Tahoe's in the shop, and I'm just a working stiff just like anybody else. So I want to go ahead and read something, and I have a website. It's patriotdefense13.com. That's where I put my menu of classes and tells a little bit about me. And I don't know if I've ever read this or not, but I was just I get a lot of referrals and a lot of emails and stuff from the website, but I have someone else do the website for me. So there's not a lot for me to do on the website. Just every now and then just check to make sure changes that I've asked to be requested to be done, get done. And so it's been a while since I've actually looked at said website. So I was poking around in there, and man, I was looking at all the pictures on there, and they are so outdated, and I'm going to have to get that changed. But there is a section called About Us. And I wrote this back probably 7 years ago, right, when I first built my website. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, my name is Todd Eccles. I reside with my wife and our 5 kids in Buell, Idaho. Although some might say I'm not anyone special, I am a husband, I'm a dad, a provider, and a protector. I have lived in Idaho for 20 plus years. I hunt here, I fish here, and I'm raising my family here. And actually now I'm raising my grandkid. Well, I'm not raising him, but I have grandkids here now as well. I am passionate about defending my family's life and happiness. I am passionate about the Second Amendment and my rights to exercise it. I am passionate about shooting and introducing new people and young shooters to the sport. My background is unlike many in the firearms industry. I do not have a military or law enforcement background. I have not attended high-dollar shooting schools like most. I am not a tactical, in air quotes, tactical instructor. I am not a competitively ranked shooter. My core experience stems from many practical years of carrying a concealed firearm and from my lifelong passion for shooting. Don't get me wrong, I have taken shooting classes, and I am an NRA certified instructor in the pistol discipline, but I don't think you have to acquire training from tactical instructors to firmly learn the basics and to gain a strong starting point. I do believe there is a place for those kind of classes and instructors, but you won't find them here. If that is what you want, you have come to the wrong place. And I've always I've always had my model of practical, not tactical, and we'll get into that here more in a little bit. If you are someone who's looking for good qualities, good, solid information and training, then this is the right place for you. If you want to be more than just a number in a huge class and you are looking for more one-on-one coaching in a calm, supportive atmosphere, then you have come to the right place. If you want to learn from an ordinary person, a father, a husband, someone who is understanding and patient, someone who is passionate about shooting and about concealed carry, then you have found where you belong. So that's my intro on my website. And I hadn't read that for a while. I mean, I did write that years ago, about 7 years ago, and I hadn't read that for a while. So it felt good to kind of read it and kind of make sure that I am still living true to my roots. So be it. And I am. I agree with everything on that website that I wrote. I'm not previous former law enforcement. I don't have any type of military, unless, in the Boy Scouts, maybe when I was a real young kid. That's not military. Although some people kind of treat it like it is, but I have no military background, training, experience, nothing like that. But I am passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about shooting, about helping people. I get the biggest joy, the most joy I ever get, I get from helping someone who is scared of firearms, has never shot a firearm. I like showing them that they aren't scary, that they can do it. I like empowering them. I've had women come to me who said, "Hey, look, my ex-husband beat me up. He beat me up. He attacked me. He stalked me for a while. He's now in prison. He's getting out in a month. They're letting him, he's getting out on probation, or he served his time or whatever. He's getting out in a month. I'm scared. I need to know how to shoot a gun. I need to know how to be able to defend myself. I bought this gun. Can you show me how to do this?" And I've showed up, and I remember one gal, I met her at her house. It was me and one of my daughters. Safety in numbers, right? So I went to this woman's house, and I talked to her about her firearms and showed her what to do, and we did some stuff. And then she wanted me to walk around her house and tell her what I thought of her house and where she should put up lights and what she should do if this happened or this happened or this happened. And I left there, and I never heard back from that woman. I never saw any horrible news stories either, so that's a good thing, right? But I never heard back from that woman. And I'm hoping that I helped her, that I was able to give her something to make her feel at ease or to empower her so she'd be able to defend herself if she needed to. I've had people take my classes that have some kind of physical handicap. And my thoughts on that are, practical, not tactical. Just because you have a handicap doesn't mean you're not allowed to defend yourself. You have every right to self-defense just as much as I do. Are we going to have to, depending on what your handicap is, are we going to have to modify that a little bit? Are we going to have to modify how you hold your firearm? Are we going to have to modify, maybe you need to shoot from your wheelchair. Maybe you need to shoot standing next to your walker. Maybe your stance is going to be different. Maybe you have to use, and the people are going to look at me, like I'm nuts when I say this. And then maybe you're thinking the same thing, but maybe you have a physical limitation with your hands or your arms, and you have to use two fingers to squeeze the trigger, to pull the trigger on your firearm. That's happened in my class. I've had people had to do that, but they wanted to know how to defend themselves. And so I found out what they could and couldn't do, and I took the time and I worked with them, and I found something that would work for them. Was it ideal for you and me? No. Using two fingers to pull the trigger on your firearm is not ideal for you and me, but for them it was ideal. It was perfect for them. They were still able to defend themselves, and I'll work with anyone. Like I said, I've had, wheelchairs. I've had all kinds of people come and I will teach anyone how to shoot their firearm. And I am passionate about that. I enjoy that. It's what drives me on to do more classes and to help more people. just because, and there's nothing wrong, just because you shoot and you carry a firearm, and maybe you want to know how to draw and shoot, which is an important skill, and you want to get a little more tactical with it, and that's fine. And I don't always do tactical necessarily. We're not going to slide off cars and car hoods and everything else, right? Roll over the hoods of cars and somersault in the air and shoot a gun. But I can teach you the basics, and I can teach you how to draw, and all the stuff the fundamentals of what you'll need. And that's fun, but some people can't do that stuff. So I have to work with them and make it, and that's practical shooting for them. That's how they're going to be able to practically defend themselves. And that's what I really enjoy doing, and I hope that comes across to people. I know every year this year's been really horrible. I'm not quite sure what it is, but everyone thinks that they can be a firearms instructor, or thinks, I don't know if they think they can be, or just think they need to be, or what. And I encourage everyone, and this is even if you're not here, and this is going to sound like I'm trying to save my business a little bit. Sure, of course I am. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's part of me that, I do the podcast because I enjoy doing it, but it also is a little bit of a boon to my business. It helps a little bit. It's a little bit of free advertising, as you heard with my my shameless plug with my commercial. But this is for everyone. I don't care if you're back east. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in a different country. If you are going to go pay, and you are going to go pay someone to teach you how to shoot, how to defend your life, you need to know their background. You need to know what they believe in. Are they a tactical dude? Are they a practical dude? I mean, what have they done in the past? Do some research, and be careful with, Facebook is a good place to research as well, but be careful with strictly Facebook research, because you can see a lot of videos and a lot of all kinds of stuff that makes them look great. And then you get there and it's not all it's cracked up to be. And who knows, maybe someone I try not to put on a fake facade for people. Maybe someone showed up to my class and they're listening right now and they went, well, Todd, I thought I was going to do this, this, and this. And when I showed up to your class, this is what happened. So maybe that's happened for people when they've showed up here. I sure hope not. I don't want that to happen, but you need to know your instructor and know his background. Has he taken advantage of a lot of people as far as money? Have they lied? Do they know what they're doing? Is this someone who is just likes to shoot firearms, and now they think that they want to teach firearms? I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere, yes, but just know what you're getting into when you give someone your money. You worked hard for those dollars. Make sure you're going to get a good return with those dollars. Also, it doesn't hurt to ask the instructor, hey, I'm coming over to your place. We're going to, your range. We're going to shoot these guns. You're going to teach me. What kind of insurance do you have? All right. I mean, insurance is a big deal. What kind of insurance do you have if something were to go wrong? It doesn't hurt to ask that. Some people I think don't get insurance when they do stuff like this, and it's a huge risk. And as a consumer, as a student, it would be nice to know that the instructor, that the company, that whatever you're using has insurance, the place that you're going to. So don't feel bad about asking about that. Maybe you could even get a hold of them and say, look, I'm going to come. I want to take these classes from you. I'm thinking about or considering it. Do you have some references? Can you give me some references, some people that I can talk to that have been through your class? And if they give you references and they pan out and you feel good about it, then continue to move forward. If they seem unsure, if the references seem a little shady, I mean, that's for you to decide. I'm not you, so what seems shady to me may not seem shady to you, and that's fine. You have to be comfortable with your choice. Also, I've gone and I've taken quite a few classes, and the big fancy ranges are lots of fun, right? And beware of those instructors that will dazzle you with a big fancy range, right? I'm not saying that just because I don't have a big fancy range. I have a range and it suits my needs, and I've been using it for quite a few years now, and for what I do, it is perfect. Would I like a bigger range? Yes. Would I like to go buy 10 or 20 acres in the desert and build up a nice, awesome range? Well, yeah, of course, but that takes money I don't have right now, maybe someday. if you are just looking for the basics, if you are just looking for, you're starting off, you're just looking for fundamentals, you don't have to go pay lots of money to someone who has a range where you're going to shoot out car windows, roll on the ground, shoot under cars, shoot around cars, go down and shoot the steel, and shoot the courses that the Navy SEALs shoot. Is that fun? Sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's fun. You're going to pay for it, but if you are just learning, if you were just starting out, you don't have to do that stuff. In fact, I'll be honest with you. A lot of that stuff, and this is going to strike, depending on who's listening, sure, it'd be fun to shoot from a car or shoot out a car window. It's all knowledge, right? It's all education. But in all actuality, you don't really, the average Joe, me, I'm talking about me because I'm no one special. I'm the average Joe. I don't need to know how to do that stuff. If I have the opportunity, will I learn it? Sure, why not? But you don't really need that stuff. You're paying for something that you don't necessarily need unless you just want to go there and have fun. And if so, it's your money, do what you want, but you don't need that stuff. Okay? You don't need to go run a military course with the AR-15 in your pistol unless you just want to, but that's not required. That's not a required skill, okay? There's basic skills that you guys need. The fundamentals, you need to know how to shoot. You need to know how to draw and shoot. You need to know how to draw and, get off the X, move and shoot, that kind of stuff. And you can even get a little more in depth, how to shoot from the ground if you were knocked down, how to draw your firearm safely and shoot, from lying on your back and all this other stuff. There's stuff like that you can learn. There's different movements and stuff that you can learn. Just be aware of where you spend your money. You don't have to go to some high dollar range where they're going to charge you $300 or $400 for 6 hours or 8 hours and have you shoot 2,000 rounds. Just because they say you're going to shoot 1,800 rounds, 1,200 rounds, 2,000 rounds, whatever it is, in a day doesn't mean that that's good. I find personally that, in fact, there is a group here, and they are teaching the Idaho Enhanced Concealed Carry Permit class, just like I do, and other classes, I'm sure. But in their permit class, in the permit class that the state requires, you only have to shoot 98 rounds. It needs to be 8 hours. You have to have part of it taught to you by Idaho certified law enforcement, post-certified, intermediate post-certified law enforcement officer. And then you have to go and you have to shoot. They don't talk about the drills you have to shoot. They don't talk about any of that. You just have to shoot 98 rounds. And I do it in just a series of basic drills, right? People want to know, well, do I need a holster when I show up to your class? No, you don't need a holster when you show up to that class. I have different people there with different skill levels, all showing up, and some of them have been shooting, some of them have not. We aren't going to deal with anything from a holster. That's another class, right? That's a dangerous, I won't say dangerous move, but that can be a pretty risky thing to teach. And I do teach it, but it needs to be in a way more of a controlled environment where you're watching just that and making sure people do the steps properly. I'm not going to do that with 20 or 30 people in my permit class, especially if there's someone who has never fired a gun in that class. You don't just jump into that. You have to have a base that you have built to get into that part of it. There are some instructors out there, or at least here in my local area, there's a group of instructors that advertise, hey, look, this is going to be an 11 instead of an 8. This is going to be an 11-hour class. You're going to bring like 200 rounds, 250 rounds, whatever it is. We're going to learn this. You're going to learn that. You're going to bring your holster. We're going to show you how to draw and shoot. We're going to show you how to do this. And then we're going to do everything, and you're going to be able to sign off on your permit. That's great. If you want to do that in a day, that's absolutely fantastic. Personally, I'm not sure how they're doing that. I think if they are doing it, I think they're pushing people through way too fast. You have people that have never shot before, and now all of a sudden you're going to, some of them never shot a firearm before, and all of a sudden you're going to show them how to not only shoot and learn about the shooting fundamentals, sight picture, grip, stance, trigger press, you name it, all that stuff. And now all of a sudden you're going to throw in, you got people who don't know how to load bullets into a mag, and that's fine. You have to learn sometime, but you're going to take someone, teach them all that in one day, and then on top of it, you're going to teach them how to draw from a holster and shoot a target. It doesn't work that way. That's when people get hurt. Okay? You rush them through it, that's when they get hurt. I don't know I mean, it's not illegal what they're doing over there. But they're doing it. And I think it's unsafe, and you don't really need that. It's too much. Another thing, you have to fire 98 rounds in the class. So that class, like I said, you got people who've never shot before, people that have shot before, but it may have been a couple years, and you can have, older people. I've had people in their 80s and 90s in my class, all the way down to people who are, 18, 19, 20 years old. And if you don't shoot a lot, or you don't shoot at all, shooting 98 rounds or 100 rounds, I don't know why they call it 98, but they require 98. We shoot 100 rounds. Shooting 100 rounds for the average Joe who doesn't shoot very much, that is a lot of rounds to shoot. Fatigue sets in. I've seen fatigue set in. Usually you start seeing it around 50 rounds, okay? I've seen fatigue set in at 20 rounds. I've seen fatigue set in at 30 or 40 rounds. People who don't shoot a lot start getting tired. And now you have this group of gentlemen who are putting on these classes locally, and they are wanting to take people who have possibly never shot before, put them through all this stuff, teach them the fundamentals, teach them how to draw and shoot. And not only are they doing this, but they're going to fire like 200 rounds or whatever it is. That is a lot. You got a lot going on there. And in my mind, that equals an unsafe situation. You have people who are tired, who are fatigued, people who are new that may not be thinking about safety all the time, which they should be, but they're still learning, right? And now you're going to make them draw and shoot, and they're shooting like 200 rounds. And you're going to jam this all into an 11-hour day. I don't know, man. It doesn't pan out to me. That is an accident. That is an accident waiting to happen right there. That is a fiasco, if you ask me. Never taken one of their classes. I don't really plan on it, but just from everything all the experience that I've gained from doing this and what I've seen in my own classes, that is a mess. But do you want to know why they can get away with it? You want to know why this is in my mind. This is one of those things where I wish Tarver, the Cajun Cowboy, or someone was here to look at me and just shake their head and tell me to shut up. But you want to know why why they think they can do this? It's because it's law enforcement. There is a lot of law enforcement people out there that go and they try to become firearms instructors. They try to teach these classes, and they think they know better than me. They think they know better than the average Joe, the average person, and so they can teach it and they can do it, and they're not doing anything illegal. I don't think it's really smart. I think they need to be a lot more cautious, but they think that they can get away with it. And I hope everything goes smoothly for them. I really do, but I want to throw caution out there. Be careful if you are promised too much too early in the class, or too much in a class. If you're looking for a permit class, if you're promised way too much, you're not going to come out of there a gunslinger. You're just not. It's just not going to happen. You're going to leave the class having learned stuff, the safety stuff. This is the way it should be. You should leave class happy with what you've learned, feeling a little bit empowered with what you learned, and excited to go out and shoot again. Okay. You should not, you need to leave the class, enjoying that stuff. You should leave a class feeling slightly wore out, right? Okay. 98 rounds. You're going to be a little tired. You're going to be a little fatigued. That's what's going to happen. Most people aren't ready to learn to draw and shoot, be there for 11 or 12 hours and shoot 200 rounds, especially when the last time they picked up a gun and fired it was 1972. And that happens. I've had people go out and buy brand new guns the night before class. And on the firing line, on the tables I have set up on the firing line on class, they are cutting the plastic off of the box. I mean, they're open. I remember this couple, and that's fine. That's fine if you want to do that, because I'm there to teach you, right? But I've seen them cutting the plastic off cutting the tape that seals up the Glock box together, right? And they cut it and they open it up, and when they crack open that case, those guns are still so new you can smell Austria on them. I mean, it's it's amazing to me that people say they can take you from 0 to 200 miles an hour in 11 hours. It just doesn't work that way. You're pushing limits. That's when people get hurt. That's when accidents happen. That's when you sour people on shooting, honestly. And that brings me to, this has been nothing but rants, and it is what it is. This, you guys got me. So hopefully you enjoy it. It's without sounding too cocky, it's my podcast. I guess I'll do what I want. Maybe I'll make it float. Maybe it'll sink. But I guess it all boils down to me and what I do, whether this thing floats or not. But one more thing I want to chat about or point out too, and that is, just because you are law enforcement, just because someone is law enforcement does not mean that they can teach the class, okay? That doesn't give them, I'm sorry, but you're law enforcement, you're great. I'm not anti-law. I know it sounds like I am. I'm not anti-law enforcement. They're there to do a job, and they do, most of them do a great job. There are some bad apples. Most of them do a great job. But just because they're law enforcement doesn't mean that they can teach you how to shoot a firearm. Doesn't mean they should even have any business running a handgun instruction company. Okay. Yeah, they do. They carry a gun every day. Guess what? I carry a gun every day too. They get to carry it open, right? Rules are a smidge different for them. I carry concealed, so I carry a gun. But wouldn't you want to take a class? Wouldn't you want to take a class from someone like you? Someone who has to get their concealed carry permit, has went and got their concealed carry permit just like you. Someone who carries every day concealed just like you, or just like you want to. Someone that has to deal with the same stuff as you, knowing the laws of where they can and can't carry, just deals with ins and outs of everything. I don't get special privileges. I don't get anything extra. I'm just like you. And I need to explain to you what I do. I carry in the winter. I like wearing a hoodie. It covers my gun. Law enforcement officer doesn't have to do that. He just kind of holsters up and goes, right? I mean, and that's good. That's their job, and we need them. But take a class from someone like you, someone who knows what you're going to go through when you carry a firearm, someone who's been there at the beginning, has done the nervous. It's kind of a thing back in the gun culture, but you just got their concealed carry permit, and they're going to go take we call it the Walmart walk, which essentially boils down to the first day that you carry a gun concealed, and how that feels, and they can work with you on that, talk to you about that, and someone who has been down the same path as you, right? There's plenty of good law enforcement officers out there, and some of them can teach, yes. But then again, you have to ask yourself, do they know how to teach a bunch of, and I hate to use this word because it makes me sound like I'm extra special, and I'm not, civilians, right? They're good at teaching law enforcement officers, right? They teach law enforcement officers a little different. And can they teach civilians? Can they teach the average Joe? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. That's something to think about as well. They may or may not be a little more tactical. They may or may not take a little extra time with you if you got a physical ailment or a physical limitation that needs worked with. That's something to think about right there. It's just make the right choices when you go to choose a firearm instructor, and go to who you think will suit you. And I don't think I'm going to suit everyone. There's a good chance that I'm not going to suit everyone. I'm not the instructor for everyone. Okay. I want people. I'm more worried about people going to the right instructor, people getting the right instruction, going to the right instructor, the instructor that is good for them. And that's really what I'm passionate about. But I tell you what, if you've got any questions, any comments on this, it's kind of a more of a personal type rant, I guess, a little bit. Let me know what you think. I'd really, honestly, truly love to hear your opinions on it. Maybe you want to say, hey, Todd, you're really hard on law enforcement there. You're really hard on other instructors. That was not cool. You shouldn't have done that. You're going to lose business. Maybe you want to tell me that. Maybe you agree with me. I want to hear it all. And if you guys want to email me, I would definitely love to any comments or any feedback. That is my email is patriotdefense13 at yahoo.com. That's patriotdefense13 at Yahoo. And you can even text me or call me. I do know that there's people that text and call me every week. And I know that someone's been texting me and he's got some stories that we are probably going to talk about on the podcast, but I want to bring those stories onto the podcast when there's other people here. But you can call me, you can text me. You're not going to bother me. I may get calls and texts all the time from all over everywhere. Even if you're out of the country and you want to call me and text me, do it. I don't care. I'll take your call. I'll take your text message. I'll respond. I have in the past. Trust me. There's a gentleman over. I don't know where he is now. Over in Europe somewhere that I text all the time. He listens to the podcast, right? We even talk about stuff we don't talk about on the podcast. We talk about running. We don't always talk about firearms. So if you just want to say hi, get a hold of me, call or text area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I would appreciate any type of contact, feedback, comments. Just say hi, whatever. I would really appreciate it. I'll tell you what, if you like the podcast and you want to share it with your family and friends, do that. That's how we're going to grow, folks. We reach a few people, and we've kind of hit kind of a stagnant. And I would sure like to. It's fun for me to watch the numbers. It's fun for the guys doing the podcast to watch the numbers. It makes them more excited to come in and actually do the podcast. And I would sure appreciate more subscribes. I appreciate those numbers to go up. But you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Just a whole bunch more podcatcher apps that I don't even know about because some of them, they just grab it off of iTunes, I think. But I'm all over the place. If you got any questions about that, you can get a hold of me at the number I gave you a little while ago, and I can help you with that as well. Send you links or whatever. You can go to my website, which is patriotdefense13.com, and you can check out my website. You can see what I read to you today. I do have some blogs on there, which are I haven't added to in a long time, and I need to get back to doing that. I should now that I have a little more time on my hands, but I will look into that. But you can check out those blogs if you want. You can even listen to the podcast on there. There's a link on there for listening to that. You can even go ahead and shoot me an email on the contact us button. So check it all out and share it with your friends. And until then, I believe we will be back next week. I am actually taking my boys, and we are going to take the old International Scout out, and we are going to go camping to a little town called Jarbidge, Nevada, go on a little overland adventure journey next weekend. So we'll probably get in here for a podcast. It might be a little later. It might be not till like Sunday afternoon or something that we actually cut the podcast. I am not sure. I will let you guys, well, I don't know if I'll let you know, but just be aware that may happen. And I think I'm going to get the Cajun Cowboy in here sometime this week, and we will do one of the Prepper Conspiracy podcasts, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. I know what it's like to have a podcast that you like, and then all of a sudden it comes out every day, the same day for many, 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 many months, and then all of a sudden there's not one. So I don't want to lose listeners, so I knew I had to do something. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast and my little chat about instructors. And just give that some thought and let me know what you think. Until then, I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.